Evan Fournier has done some speaking out on his time with the New York Knicks, and since the Knicks and the Pistons are playing in a few hours from now, I figured we'd drop this video right now and just break all this down and talk about it. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. My name is Chris, and we're going to jump right into the video as we always do. It's good to be back after a weekend off, so let's talk Evan Fournier. According to Kristen Winfield, this came out today, and it's a hilarious report of Evan Fournier says that he was in the steam room without his phone, probably smart, when Josh Hart stormed in like, yo, Ev. Fournier said he was hoping to be traded, and that's how he found out his deal with the Pistons happened. So Evan Fournier was just in the steam room getting a sweat out, and Josh Hart runs in and tells him that he got traded to the Detroit Pistons. Now, here's two things that come to mind. One, Evan Fournier must have been a good teammate, because Josh Hart would not have done this to Evan Fournier if the Knicks players did not really like Fournier. It's clear that Fournier was a consummate pro throughout this entire situation that has just been disastrous for both him and his NBA career. The man is an NBA level player. He got benched constantly. Dario and I have talked about it a bunch prior to where, though it's not the wrong call by the Knicks, it is unfortunate for Evan Fournier. Though at the same time, if you want to make the argument that he was getting paid $17 million to watch the Knicks play courtside, you can obviously do that too. But it's clear that the Knicks players liked Fournier. They would not have done this if they didn't. It's also clear that Josh Hart is nuts. But, imagine that. You're just sweating, you're just in the sauna, in the steam room, and your buddy just comes. It's like, dude, you're going to Detroit. That's hilarious. Fournier's thrilled because he gets to play basketball, but it's also funny that after all this time of wanting to get traded for such an obvious reason, he gets traded to the Detroit Pistons, who have 8 wins and are definitely not getting win number 9 tonight, and I really hope that does not come back to bite me. But Fournier also said a couple weeks back, I'm really excited to finally be out of New York. As soon as I got traded, they called me and said they've been trying to have me for the last couple of seasons now, the Pistons, that is. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity. Evan Fournier, when he said this, some Knicks fans were kind of like, wow, really? You're going to say you're super excited to be out of New York? It's not like that. I really just don't think it is. I don't think Fournier has beef with New York. He might have beef with the Knicks a little bit because they benched him for 2 years, but, fair. He gets that contract. He expects to be a Knicks starter for the next 4 years. Not only isn't a starter, but completely gets benched, gets put to the end of the bench, is not in the rotation, is not even an afterthought of the rotation. The man has been basically forgotten about. And the Knicks put his NBA career in serious danger. Fournier has to perform on the Pistons, or he's going to not have played for a few years. That team option, it's getting declined. So this is dangerous for Fournier, who just balled out in FIBA not that long ago and then didn't play again. So it's not the greatest look. He'll get a chance regardless, but it did screw with his career. And that's why he was happy to be out of New York and in Detroit, where he can be the best shooter on the team and get a lot of open looks because of that, and basically get a lot of chances to prove why he belongs in the NBA. And on the Knicks side of things, the Knicks got much better from the trade. We've talked about that a million times. We don't have to keep going into it outside of the fact that Bojan Bogdanovic just really is awesome. I mean, that man is great. It's like a more mobile version of Steve Novak. It's awesome to have Bojan. Can't wait to see him in the playoffs. But at the end of the day, this is about Evan. And if we look right here, Tibbs gave Evan Fournier a huge shout out saying he did a good job for us. I know it wasn't easy for him when we signed him. It felt like he was a really good fit and he had a great season for us. But sometimes the strengths of your club change. You always have to do what's best for your team. Sometimes that means guys fall out of the rotation. It's not about liking a guy or not liking a guy. You just have to do what's best for your team. I have nothing but respect for him. I certainly wish him well in Detroit. Now, there was kind of the wonder if maybe Tibbs didn't like Evan Fournier, and I don't think that's the case. Look, Tibbs didn't like playing Evan Fournier because when we brought Fournier in, we also happened to bring in an offensive point guard in Kemba Walker. Now, here's one thing about Kemba Walker. When Walker was in his prime, he was not a good defender. Kemba Walker was not in his prime with the Knicks. He was better than what people give him credit for, but he was not in his prime anymore. And because of that, the Kemba-Evan backcourt did not really work. Do I think both of them should have been basically exiled from the team? Hell no. I think the Knicks should have kept Kemba as their starting point guard the entire season, and they probably would have been a much better team. But that's neither here nor there. The real answer is the Knicks got Jalen Brunson. Brunson showed early on that he was a really good player, and then as time went on, he became the best player on the Knicks throughout the season. And looking at the way that Brunson plays, he plays defense. Is it great defense? No, but he plays defense. He's a better defender than what people give him credit for. And Evan Fournier was worse at defense than him. And Brunson has to not be the best defender in the backcourt. He has to not. That's not allowed. He has to be the worst because there's 2 backcourt spots. But he cannot be the best defender in a backcourt. That's not how the Knicks win games. That is what Tibbs is alluding to here. The Knicks got Jalen Brunson. They play around Brunson, and you need someone who's a good defender with that. Dante DiVincenzo is a good defender. OG Anunoby, when he comes back, is an elite defender, defensive player of the year caliber player. Add in the rest of the Knicks defense. Add in also you have guys like Josh Hart. Given this year the defense hasn't been there, but in the past he's been one of the better defenders in the NBA. The Knicks have a team that fits for Jalen Brunson. Having Evan Fournier in that starting lineup did not fit for Jalen Brunson. That team that started the first game of last season of Brunson, Fournier, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson didn't really work. It just didn't. RJ wasn't a good enough shooter or defender. He was good at everything else, but the problem was Julius and Brunson. Fournier was a great shooter, but he wasn't a good enough defender to do anything, so RJ had to play the best defensive role, and that screwed with his offense. It made him even worse on offense, or made him even worse at shooting because he was tired, and that, again, made everything weird. Now, the Knicks ended up going to the second round anyway, which shows what this year's Knicks team can do, considering they're a completely different team, and they fit much better around Brunson, who's the reason why we got to the second round, as we all know. Though, shout out to RJ for balling out in the playoffs, obviously. Cannot forget about that. I still love RJ Barrett. But Carmelo Anthony has had an interesting take on this, where he said Evan Fournier, when he comes back to the Garden, y'all are going to see something special. And what he means by that is that once you're an opponent again, you look at things differently, where you're coming into the Garden to go off. Now, Melo, not only has he been a long time, or was a long time Knick, he also didn't start his career with the Knicks, so he first began in that mindset of, oh, I'm going to the Garden tonight, I have to show up and show out, and especially Carmelo, who was a celebrity on top of being an NBA superstar, so he knew he had to perform, and then he goes to New York, plays for the Knicks, balls out basically every night for 7 years, then gets traded to the Thunder, and he said he remembered coming back, and he's like, oh, I haven't had this mindset in a while, but I gotta go in there ready to do my thing. Now, unfortunately for Melo, his first return to the Garden was spoiled by the man who we will never forget, your favorite player's favorite player, Melo from the left side. Be easy, Michael Beasley balled out that game. That was awesome. Love Michael Beasley here at Knicks Digest, and I think all Knicks fans. Michael Beasley got a cult following here. He should still be in the NBA. The fact that he's not is ridiculous, but that's not neither here nor there. Fournier's also been decent in MSG for his career. Now, for the Pistons so far, he's averaged 11.5 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 steal. He's also shooting 47% from 3, which is the highest of any player on the Detroit Pistons right now, given it's been 4 games that might go down. Probably will go down a little bit. But Fournier is showing one thing. He is very clearly an NBA player. He's still one of the premier shooters in this league. There is a reason why, when it comes to all-time single-season Knick records, why Evan Fournier in 2021-2022 has the all-time record for New York Knicks three-pointers made in a season. That is Fournier's to hold. Brunson will take it one day. Maybe this season, it's very possible. But right now, Fournier does that, or he holds that. He is a good player, and we can't pretend like he's not. Is he a great player? Is he an all-star? Not at all. No, not at all. But he's a good player, and he's a good shooter. And what goes off in Madison Square Garden? Bad teams' best shooter. Marco Bellinelli on the Charlotte Hornets around 6 years ago. 9 threes on the Hornets. This was after the Spurs. The Hornets, he did this. This happens to us a lot. I mean, that's the one that comes to mind. But we all know there's a million cases of a guy hitting nearly 10 threes or 10 threes on the Knicks where it's like, look, I get he's a great spot-up shooter, but what the hell is happening right now? Knicks have to watch and make sure that Fournier doesn't do that, because Fournier's coming back with a chip on his shoulder to try to show Knicks fans, hey, this is what y'all missed. Given the Knicks are a great shooting team, much better shooting team than the Pistons, and they're an elite defensive team that when you come in and try to run and gun and shoot a bunch of threes, the Knicks just beat you with metal bats on defense. And then they also just give the ball to Brunson, and he drops 30 points with an insane amount of ease that we've not seen since Melo. Now, Fournier, in his MSG career, when as not a part of the Knicks, has averaged 15 points per game, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. He has shown that he is a good performer against the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden. So I'm curious to see what happens tonight. Comment down below what you think is going to go down. Is Fournier going to go off, or are the Knicks just going to blow the Pistons out because the Knicks are a good basketball team and the Pistons aren't, and they have a coach who couldn't care less because he's just getting a bag to get courtside seats at the Pistons game? Look, Detroit basketball is struggling right now. It's the price that they pay for the Lions finally figuring it out. Shout out to my buddy who's a Lions fan. Like this video, comment down below. I will see you guys for the post game later tonight. Have a good day and go New York Knicks.